Hello there, everybody. We have been having some really amazing summer days now, the past week, and let's hope that it continues a whole lot more. I thought that today I was going to take another genre and show my records of it, and this time it is my vinyl collection of soul music, and I'm going to start with 70s soul. The soul stack is so big that I have to divide it, but they are divided in different genres. I'm going to take the 60s, a few 60s that I have, and the 70s now, and the 80s soul later on. And in the vinyl, the CD soul I might take later on. But today, 60s and 70s soul, a genre that is kind of new to me. I started collecting 60s. I don't collect 60s soul. I have some few that I like, but I'm not collecting 60s. I collect 70s soul though, and I started collect that back in 2014 actually, 2013-14, around the same time that I started with Vinyl Community. So, and it has been growing a lot since then in only 7 years time. So it's pretty amazing actually. But let's check it out and keep grooving. So we start with the 460s albums. Aretha in Paris, a really amazing Aretha Franklin concert. We have Impressions with Curtis Mayfield as a member. This is My Country. All of these are late 60s, I might add. The original soundtrack from TCB was a TV show by Motown featuring Diana Ross, The Supremes and The Temptations. I said it before, I'm not a huge fan of Diana Ross and The Supremes, but I definitely think that the best albums they did with artists like The Temptations, together with The Temptations, because here's another one. Diana Ross and the Supremes joined The Temptation. Also a really amazing album. So Supremes and Diana Ross, in my opinion, were at the best here. Then we move on to the 70s and start with Ray Barretto, or Barretto only. Eye of the Beholder from 77. We have George Benson, a double live album, Weekend in LA. And a favorite of mine, In Flight, George Benson. This is amazingly funky. Beat Express we come to now, Energy to Burn, and Non-Stop, and Do It Till You're Satisfied. I discovered Beat Express when I was looking on some old programs from the Soul Train show. We have Diane Carroll, here famous from Dynasty, but she was an actress, she was a musical artist, and this is a Motown release. Stanley Clarke, Modern Man. We have Linda Clifford, the protege of Curtis Mayfield, which actually is heard here. Curtis Mayfield had his fingers pretty much everywhere in his album, outside of the vocal. Let Me Be Your Woman. This is also a Curtis Mayfield sounding album. Linda Clifford, Here Is My Love. Moving on to some Commodores albums. Moving on. My favorite, Natural High, self-titled with Brick House and so on. We have an anthology, 2-record compilation. I think that this might be the Commodores compilation that I need, because these were when they were at the best in the 70s. I feel I had no real need for their compilation, including their 80s stuff that I feel was not as good after Lionel Richie left. Commodores Midnight Magic. And real early Natalie Cole. We have some Randy Crawford, Everything Must Change. At least the album, because we're moving on to Miss Randy Crawford. More Randy Crawford in the 80s soul, of course. But she's also have a huge part here in the Crusaders album, Street Life 300 Street. Of course, she's the vocalist in the song Street Life. Delegation, The Promise of Love. The Dramatics, featuring Ron Banks, Drama 5. Earth, Wind and Fire, Open Your Eyes. We're coming to a huge stack of Earth, Wind and Fire albums, and this one is from 1974, my birth year. And of course, the classic All in All, Spirit, The Last Days and Time from 1972, Gratitude, live album. We have I Am. Sometimes my memory lacks. We have Emotions, Rejoice. I feel like I have way too little emotions. Faith, Hope and Charity. Some funky stuff. Fifth Dimensions, Living Together, Growing Together. Roberta Flack, Feel Like Making Love. This is really, really good. For those of you who think that Roberta Flack was more or less only Killing Me Softly, actually, should listen more to her other stuff, because this is really great, as is this. Roberta Flack featuring Donny Hathaway. The last thing that Donny Hathaway did before his passing, and Roberta Flack had more or less was forced to finish this album all by herself. Eddie Floyd, Baby Lay Your Head Down, Gently to My Bed. Four Tops, Main Street People. Aretha Franklin, Sweet Passion. Gladys Knight and the Pips were coming too, a stack of records from them, second anniversary. Followed by real great classic, Imagination, This Is Awesome, As Is This, the soundtrack for the motion picture Claudine. And you can see here, yes, he's here again, Curtis Mayfield. And this movie is featured, besides James Earl Jones, also the woman we saw earlier, Diane Carroll, once again. GQ, Disco Nights. Grand Central Station, Now Do You Wanna Dance? Al Green, another artist that I have way too little with. This is unfortunately my only Al Green album, Truth and Time. Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Black and Blue. More Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Reaching for the World. Major Harris, My Way. This is a highly recommended album. Disco Connection, Isaac Hayes Movement, and now we're coming to a great stack of Isaac Hayes albums. Isaac Hayes, Juicy Fruit, Disco Freak. Isaac Hayes live at the Sahara Tahoe. And Isaac Hayes soundtrack to the movie Tough Guys. Leaving Isaac Hayes. Heatwave, Too Hot to Handle. We have Eddie Horan, Love the Way You Love Me. When I bought this one, it actually were a blind buy. I got suggested by a record collector that this is actually nice, sweet soul. So I bought it, and it was really, really great. Cissy Houston, Whitney's mother, Think It Over. And Cissy Houston again, self-titled. Cissy Houston is just as good as her daughter, actually. A pretty big stack of Thelma Houston, Any Way You Like It, my favorite Thelma Houston album. But this is also great, Thelma Houston and Jerry Butler, Thelma and Jerry. We have Ride to the Rainbow, from 79, Motown. The Devil in Me. This is also a really great one. Thelma Houston with Pressure Cooker. I've got the music in me. And we have Huge Corporation, Freedom for the Stallion, the Rock the Boat album. More Huge Corporation, Rock and Soul. Impressions without Curtis Mayfield. It's About Time. The Isley Brothers, 3+3. Isley Brothers Go for the Guns. Now a stack of Jacksons. Jackson's Skywriter 5. This is very interesting. This is released on Motown. This is their final release on Motown. Michael looks a little bit sad, as are they all. They don't look all that happy, because they were unhappy with the Motown at the time. So the lack of happiness when taking this photo was definitely visual. Looking through the windows, Jackson 5. Going Places. Now we're coming to Jackson's in Philly World. And Michael on his own, Off the Wall. We have Quincy Jones, the soundtrack to the movie Roots. This is more orchestral than soul, but I put it in soul anyway. Quincy Jones, I heard that with the big stack of familiar names. Really great one. Double album set. Sounds. Guitar player Earl Klug, Magic in Your Eyes. What you could call an early smooth jazz. Mostly instrumental, but really great. La Belle Nightbirds with Lady Marmalade. I feel like I want to say Lady Marmalade. Phoenix, La Belle. Love Unlimited, Under the Influence of Love Unlimited. And Love Unlimited, of course, is the girls who were behind Barry White. I think they actually are better than Barry White himself. More variated melodies anyway. But here is the Love Unlimited Orchestra and Rhapsody in White. This is really great. I think the Barry White have a tendency to sound, his songs sounds pretty much alike, even though they are great, but they feel like after a few songs that you heard it before. But he was an amazing producer, and this is really great. As is this, Magic Maestro Police, Love Unlimited Orchestra. Masqueraders, Love Anonymous. Manhattans, featuring the single Kiss and Say Goodbye, self-titled. Now, the man, Curtis Mayfield, Give, Get, Take and Have. And we have Got to Find a Way. And we have the motion picture to Short Eyes. As you can see, there are a whole lot of stuff more to find when it comes to Curtis Mayfield. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. And we have some Philly now. McFadden and Whitehead, self-titled, with Ain't No Stopping Us Now. MFSB, Mother, Father, Sister, Brother, the band who played behind all Philly artists' albums. Universal Love, Philadelphia Freedom. We have the Gamble Huff Orchestra, and Love is the Message. I think this one is my favorite. And Summertime. Miracles, Don't You Love It. Miracles without Smokey Robinson here, but they were just as good as with. The Miracles again. Self-titles. Do It Baby. This is actually a great cover. Maxine Nightingale's Right Back Where We Started From. It was actually pretty good. I know she's a one-hit wonder, but this was actually a better album than I could expect. Melba Moore, This Is It. Ohio Players, Angel. Billy Paul, War of the Gods. This is a really great one. Billy Paul, Let Him In. OJ's Ship Ahoy. OJ's also another band I want to find a whole lot more with. Peaches and Herb, Too Hot. This is actually the only Peaches and Herb I need, I feel like, because I bought the album after that and it wasn't half as good as this one. The People's Choice, We Got the Rhythm. Pointer Sisters, Having a Party. Pointer Sisters were at their best in the 70s. Then in the 80s they became pretty boring. It's pretty odd that I say that. We love the 80s. Billy Preston and Sarita, Fast Break. Lou Rawls, All Things in Time. And When You Hear Lou, You Heard It All. Radio, Ray Parker Jr.'s band, and Radio, self-titled album. Radio, Rock On, both bought in Stockholm. Ritchie Family, Life is Music. This is more disco, and normally I'm no fan of this kind of disco, because it is made by Jacques Morali, who is actually also behind Village People, but it's actually pretty good, funky and great stuff. Rolls Royce, Rainbow Connection, 4. We have Rolls Royce Strikes Again, 3. We have a Greatest Hits with Rolls Royce. We have Diana Ross in an original TV soundtrack. I know this name right here isn't that comfortable with many, but we do like this, so everybody can watch it. Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye, two artists that actually didn't get along all that much, but they managed to do an album. Diana Ross, Surrender. Diana Ross, also an artist that were at their best in her earliest solo period actually. Rufus and Chaka Khan. Now we're coming to a huge stack. Rufus featuring Chaka Khan. Self-titled, though not the best sleeve. We have Numbers with only Rufus. We have Rufus and Chaka Khan, Ask Rufus. We have Rufus, very early one. I think this is the first one. Chaka Khan is here, there, but she's actually isn't as big yet, so she had her name on it. Rufus and Chaka Khan, Master Jam, also another amazing Rufus album. I think this one might be my favorite. Produced by Quincy Jones, who made this pretty much at the same time as he also did Off the Wall. Rufus and Chaka Khan, Street Player, bought in Uppsala. Brenda Russell. This is George Santana, the brother of the more famous Santana, Carlo. We have Sergio Mendes and the New Brazil 77, normally not soul, but in this case it actually sounds a whole lot soul. VCLT from Jenny B sides actually. Big Fun, an early Shalamar. Slave, self-titled, on 77. The Miracles with Smokey Robinson, Flying High Together. Soul Searchers, We the People. Soul Train Gang, musicians that is under the guidance of Don Cornelius. Soul Train Gang was from the beginning the name of the dancers in the background, but then when he presented his own band, Don Cornelius from Soul Train show, they switched name to Soul Train Dancers, but this is Soul Train Gang. This is really great, and they released 2 albums. I want the other one also. Some Spinners albums, Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow. Spinners Pick of the Litter. Spinners New and Improved. We're coming to staple singers. Let's do it again. Motion picture soundtrack, music by Curtis. And maybe staples and some music for the soundtrack, A Piece of the Action, music by Curtis. It's everywhere. The Stylistics, Volume 2, compilation. Stylistics, You Are Beautiful. Sugar Hill Gang, little classic. Rapper's Delight, of course. The Supremes and the Four Tops. Once again, Supremes works better when they do stuff with others, in my opinion. The Return of the Magnificent Seven. Some of the last things that Diana Ross did actually with the Supremes, before it became this. A trio Supremes. Mary, Sherry and Suzette. This is then without Diana Ross, and I actually think that Supremes without Diana Ross is very underrated. I think this is a great, great album. Stevie Wonder presents Sarita, his then wife. Sarita and G.C. Cameron, Rich Love, Poor Love, bought in Stockholm. Temptations, a whole stack of Temptations albums. Greatest Hits, Volume 3. My favorite, Sky's the Limit. I've shown this multiple times. We have this little classic with the envelope sleeve. A song for you. We have House Party. We have Masterpiece, fitting name. Going to an early Luther Vandross. 3 Degrees, a stack of 3 Degrees album, 3D. New Dimensions, 3 Degrees with Giorgio Moroder. It's actually better than I could expect, actually. We have 3 Degrees here again, and self-titled. 3 Degrees with Love, also a really great one, Philly classic. I think I forgot this one, 3 Degrees Live, a really, really great live album. Anita Ward, Songs of Love, a pretty good album. Other than just Ring My Bell. Dionne Warwick, 70's one, Love at First Sight, actually really great album. Whispers, Headlights. Best of the Whispers, self-titled, and this is one containing And the Beat Goes On. We have Betty Wright, Traveling with the Circle, in the Circle. I should go shopping at the mall in this. Huge stack of Stevie Wonder records, Talking Book. Of course, Songs in the Key of Life, my favorite. Full Fillingness, First Final. And we're coming to Barry White. One of the few that I have with Barry White, Just Another Way to Say I Love You. Zulema, another artist that I discovered through a Soul Train show that I found really, really great, and I managed to find 2 amazing albums with her. This one and Zelicious. And we have some compilation. Tam Tam Tamla Motown 1 and 2. Philly Sound Volume 2. Black Sugar, Super Sound 73. And Philly Sound Volume 1. Black is Beautiful. Coming to the records that I haven't been able to listen to yet. The unlistened records. Hopefully they will be listened to as soon as possible. This is the Pips, Without Gladys Knight, On Their Own, At Last. We have Isaac Hayes, New Horizon. More as a case with Diane Warwick, A Man and a Woman. Spinners, Spinners 8, coming to a lot of Spinners now. Spinners Live. The Detroit Spinners, this one is a little bit on the edge because it is 79-80, but the album itself is released in 1979, but most of the singles were in 1980 releases. Spinners, Mighty Love. Marvin Gaye, Dream of a Lifetime. I haven't nearly as much Marvin Gaye as I want, as you can see, because they are hopelessly expensive. But this one is interesting. It is released in the 80s, but it is with before this album previously unreleased songs from the 70s. So I put it in the 70s. 70s and 80s. It's combined, but I put it in the 70s anyway. Leon Haywood, Double My Pleasure. This was actually a blind buy when I bought it. Stylistics, Let's Put It All Together. The Fourth Choice from 1975, a Van McCoy production. OJ's, Live in London, bought in Umeå Record Fair. Bloodstone, Unreal, still sealed. Jackson 5, the third album from 1970. Michael Jackson on his own, Ben. Coming to some Stevie Wonder, The Secret Life of Plants, also an album in the borders between 79 and 80. Stevie Wonder, Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Not the best sleeve, but the album is okay. And for $2 I couldn't leave it behind. Stevie Wonder, Where I'm Coming From. Stevie Wonder with a live album from 1970. Quincy Jones, Mellow Madness. We have George Benson, The Best of George Benson, Encore. Also an album released in more modern times, but with overall the 70s songs. Gladys Knight and the Pips, Nighttime. Crusaders, Free as the Wind, bought in Stockholm. Randy Crawford, Raw Silk. We have Temptations, All Directions. Staples, Pass It On, Curtis Mayfield production. Al Jarreau, double LP live, double LP set live album. Look at the Rainbow, recorded in Europe. Whispers, Greatest Hits, and I bought the two. You saw Whispers Greatest Hits before, and the two of them are bought at the same time. So of course I checked so that they aren't containing the same songs. Glow of early Al Jarreau from 75. We have Natural 4, Night Chases. The Blue Lights in the Basement, Roberta Flack. People's Choice, Turn Me Loose. Yeah, they look like they should be turned loose. The Drifters, Love Games, containing kissing in the back row of the movies. Barry White, Sings for Someone You Love. And more Barry White, I do have some. No Limit on Love. Billy Preston, The Kids and Me. We have Diana Ross, Baby's Me. I remember I was a bit hesitating when I bought this one because, as I said, I preferred Diana Ross in the earliest solo years. This is from 1977, but it was 70s, so I give it a chance anyway. Car Wash, the motion picture soundtrack. Of course, then with a whole lot of music from Rolls-Royce. Emotion, Sunbeam. Production by Morris White from Earth, Wind & Fire. Naturally. R.B. Hudmond, Closer to You. This was a blind buy when I bought it. But I felt like, why not? Diane Warwick, Windows of the World. And some of these coming Diane Warwicks are from the 60s. I think this one is on stage and in movies with Burt Bacharach songs. Diane Warwick, Just Being Myself. Pointer Sisters, Energy. Pointer Sisters as I Prefer Them in the 70s. Billy Cobham and George Duke. The band live on tour in Europe. Rick James Stone City Band, Come and Get It. Four Tops, Keeper of the Castle. The Tramps, Slipping Out. Brothers Johnson, Blam. We have People's Choice, Boogie Down USA. Youth Corporation, Your Place or Mine. And finally, Main Ingredient, Rolling Down a Mountainside. And as I said, I will also be showing soul albums from the 80s soon enough. But I hope you have enjoyed this walkthrough my vinyl soul albums from the 70s. And you have found some really nice grooving things to enjoy. So until next time, take care and keep spinning.